Welcome to Station WBMCT, Black Middle Class Talk, where we talk, get down, throw the communication around, message, receiver, feedback. Let's get it on. Your host, CC, and your co-host, EB. Let's talk, communicate. All right, welcome aboard. Welcome aboard. Another week to discuss Black Middle Class. For anybody that's out there watching, every Wednesday from 1:30 to 2:30, we broadcast live. And if you're out there, please hit the subscribe button and see if we can increase the show audience. And as always, we speak or have a hour show and we speak on issues. We start out with domestic and international news. The subject of the day is the second part of the hour. And so the subject today is black politicians and double standards. And then on the third part of the hour, we talk about the subject board, and I think politics is on the subject board. Ain't no thinking about it. That's what's on the subject board that fits for the subject. And that's the screen that comes on in the beginning of the show. Just topics of different things that we think that should concern black people. And so politics is going to come off the board. And then in the last quarter of the hour, we talk about entertainment. We got a lot of subjects in entertainment we can talk about. You know, I want to talk about Caitlin Clark, and I know you want to talk about soccer. And
One of each. Hey, we can get both of them.
Oh, yeah, we're going to get both of them because the last hour is usually just a little fun topic, nothing serious, just kind of leave it on a high note. And as always, we start with EB. He kicks us off with the subject of the day and the domestic news and international news. We just tie them together, and I will kind of pick that up. So I'm not sure what you have for us today, brother. We didn't discuss it, but what you bringing in today? What's the subject of the day?
Okay, here we go. Mm-hmm. Today is a ceasefire. Oh, nope, that's not true. We at war. Nope, we had a ceasefire. We at war. Okay, I'm just making a little joke there. But anyway, once again, where we are is that we was at a ceasefire, but then again, they still shooting each other. So I don't understand the new rules. But then again, since Trump has been in office, all the rules have changed anyway. So you can actually be at a ceasefire and still be shooting at each other. So that's something that's something that I've learned. This is the new and improved ceasefire under Trump.
It might be when you're losing too, like ceasefire, ceasefire. And meanwhile you're shooting.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's one way of getting up ahead when you're losing. He's trying to control the narrative. That's what's going on, and everybody knows that America has lost this war. It's just out front. He can say what he wants to say. The lying. It's like in that world you have to pretend, and it's. I just don't get it that they live in a pretend world. I'm talking about the maggots and Trump, those followers. This man is lying to the fullest. It's heartbreaking that people would believe, even at this point, anything that comes out of the man's mouth. But I didn't mean to cut you off.
Oh, no, you good. Like I said, I always make a comment to anything that's brought up in the news.
Yeah.
Next thing is Taj Blanche is in the process of going through his confirmation, and I was watching some of it this morning, and I seen this one senator asked him, do you think that there's a conflict of interest if a person in the Department of Justice was the previous lawyer for the president, and how is it that you're able to go for the American people and argue about with the IRS issue Yeah.
The slush fund.
Yeah, the slush
that
fund.
they just got
exactly.
shot down.
They got shot down. Saying, so how can you, as his former lawyer, go to America and then, litigate for him? Don't you think there's a conflict of interest? And of course, you knew what the answer was, that they didn't feel that.
Yeah, because Todd Branch, which just for people that don't know, he was the personal lawyer of Donald Trump. And
Doing
then
all
he
these
became
trials.
the assistant deputy attorney general, which is second from the top. Right. And then, of course, Pam Bondi exited the door, and thankfully so. She was totally incompetent, totally. And that's on a good day. And so now he's the nominee, Todd Branch, Blanche, or whatever. But he also has a big problem with that slush fund that you just talked about, because what the judge ruled on that is that you tried to defraud the United States. Yes. You're the client and the defendant, right? Right. You're really negotiating with yourself. Exactly. What could possibly go wrong? Right? You're not going to win this. I mean, or lose this case. Heads I win, tails you lose type thing. And so just wanted to catch people up with who Todd Branch is. And he's totally corrupt. Totally. That alone, in fact, he may lose his law license out of this. He should. Right. And in fact, a lot of them should. But
yeah, my apologies. I appreciate you telling me, because, when I start conversating, I'm talking like everybody know who Todd Blanche is, But yes, you're exactly right. He's the deputy attorney general that Trump is trying to now make the attorney general. Another issue of local news, not local news, domestic news, is that Taco showed up again.
Tell me what Taco is.
Taco stands for Trump Always Chicken Out. And on Monday, Trump stated that the U.S. was going to start charging people to go into the Strait of Hormuz, as Iran is charging them to come out of it. And once again, Taco showed up, and so happened to be on Tuesday.
Okay, yeah, it's just he's classic, so the war is ongoing. We don't spend too much time on that. That's just it's a tragedy. Yes, America is we're just a wreck now. It's like a drunken mess, drunk on power. We got racists running the country all over the place. Now, I won't because I wanted to get this in before the first segment. This Nolan Wells thing in Mississippi, right? Right. This is domestic. What's the issues there? Inform me on up to date me on that.
Well, as far as the information,
tell me the situation first.
That I got is that Nolan Wells is a black kid in Mississippi. Good football player, good kid all around. He went on this island with only white kids. He was the only, from what I'm told, he was the only black on the island with his friends. Okay. And it was said that they went back from the island back to the mainland, and they said they left him there with this girl. And they didn't have and then he didn't have his phone. And then and his parents were saying is that, he wouldn't go anywhere without his phone, especially if he's going to be left on that island. And then they didn't have it. He didn't have his phone. But then again, once it came up in like a couple of days, I think a couple of hours later, and it's very shaky, because one of the kids' daddy is a judge in that area, and they all lawyered up. And they saying they're being helpful, but then again, they're not giving any information. Then this one kid came out and was speaking on behalf, saying that he was Noah's best friend. Mm-hmm. But it turns out his parents saying they don't even know this guy. Okay. He might have met him in school or something. But anyway, the final wrap-up on it is that the kid, they didn't report it, and then they came back, and like the statement saying, it would be very noticeable is that when we get on a boat, is that if I'm the only dot on this boat, it'll be very noticeable that dot is missing.
And you saying dot meaning black.
I'm sorry.
And so that's what stands out to everybody, and that's fine. Right. Because it stands out that, and this kind of typical and it's different in our day. We're a generation removed from having that many white friends that we
Right.
hang out with. Now,
Right.
this might be, just being honest about it, this might be a generational thing because, and it's not unusual to me. My son was the
Today's
same
society.
way. Yeah, he had more white friends than black friends look like to me, and I did have that talk with him because I said you're going out into places that you're going to be the minority, and there are people that probably is not feeling you. This is way back when my son is 38 years old,
Right.
and so I saw that picture of him sitting on the boat with his white friends. Good picture, but with any person of our generation and from where me and EB come from, we're going to notice that.
Right.
And then we're also going to notice when the boat comes back, he's not on the boat.
Right.
And then we're also going to notice, well, when we ask where he's at, and you have these blasé answers, because everybody knows the rules. You come back with the people you left with. Yeah, and so we're not going to be lawyering up that type thing. By the way, I think his parents, Nolan's parents, one of them was a judge too. So obviously they live in not obviously, but I assume they live in a kind of like an upper class community.
Right.
And so this wouldn't be unusual. I'm just of the cloth. I'm from a place where, and Mississippi is the place I'm from, by the way.
Yes.
And so that's what I'm kind of caught with the race thing myself. It catches my attention, but the most part that catches my attention is when your friends clam up on you.
Right.
You know what I mean? Your so-called friends should be the first to say, well, we were looking for Nolan. We came back, cops talking to us. Yeah, we don't know. It'll be hysteria
Right.
when he's not showing up. It'll be hysteria when we can't find his phone. I would be crowing. If I was his friend, I'd be crowing like a chicken.
Right.
A rooster.
But they did find his phone. But then when they found his phone, it was wiped. They didn't have no Snapchat account. Yeah. So that.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm saying that about the part about the phone is that was something that just brings about even more suspicion.
So the phone has been tampered with.
Definitely.
His closest friends have lawyered up. Houston, we got a problem. Especially if that's my son.
Yes.
And I know his parents.
Yes.
And maybe they didn't know his parents. But I only bring that subject up because we talk about interracial dating all the time on this show.
That, yeah.
All the time. Now, and like we always say, we're cautious with it because we come from a certain place in a certain generation where interracial dating was not
a thing.
Well, it was a thing.
It was not a thing during my time.
Interracial dating?
No. You had that at your high school?
No, that's
Yeah,
what
I'm saying that is not a thing. In other words, I didn't experience that. Interracial
right.
dating was not
Look,
something
our
that stood
wording,
out.
our wording
Okay,
is
gotcha.
messed
Okay,
up.
okay,
Our wording
okay.
is messed up.
Okay.
Let me clarify. What I'm trying to say is interracial dating was not the common thing.
Gotcha.
You might seen one, two at the most, and in my high school was one white girl that dated black guys, and not that it was a big thing, but it was noticeable.
Right.
But in my older brother's day, I remember my oldest brother trying to date a white girl, and somebody called my mother and warned her. So I'm just saying.
No.
But I understand. I put all that in perspective to say this is a different day. We're going to recognize that. But I from their perspective, from our perspective, it's a different day, all right, but it's the same game.
Because I would go back, and I know I'd be digging way up through the archive to say that same situation, that interracial, is what got Emmett Till killed.
Well,
It was a white woman that they said he looked at.
And gave a whistle to
gave a whistle.
one
Right, what I'm saying is that showing that what the history is in Mississippi.
I can see that the history being that interracial, the sacred white woman will not be defiled.
Right.
Okay, and so I know that's a hard subject for some people, not a hard subject for me. I am cautious with it because what I say can be misinterpreted easily, and for a person that's not is not intellectually honest, they're intellectually dishonest. They hang on to every word so they can jump on every word and discredit you, and which it doesn't bother me. I mean, just dishonesty. I don't like engaging in dishonest conversation where somebody has an axe to grind. What I'm trying to get to is just the facts and truth. As bad as it may hurt somebody's feelings, I mean, I get my feelings hurt with truth. Sometimes we don't want to deal with truth. They give us the good stuff. That's why people like going to the church where the all heaven and good news. I don't hear about hell. Don't talk truth and reality. I mean, but I know we used up a little time on the front end, but we could have talked about many things. I thought that was very important to talk about. We could have talked about the food and gas prices. The climate change and storms everywhere.
The guy killed in Maine by ice.
Ice, yeah, in Texas.
Yeah,
They're back to that
yeah,
again. Back to killing the brown people again. We could have talked about Lindsey Graham. Did Putin get a hold to him when he shook Zelensky's hand? He came back and fell down, had a heart attack or whatever it was.
I did not. Man, I didn't even think of that.
Man,
that like
when I heard that he died, I was like, how many floors was he up? I said, no, he didn't fall out the window. He had a heart attack. Oh, you had the food poisoning with it? I don't know. We don't know.
No.
I've gotten myself into the conspiracy camp.
I did not even think that's a good one there, because you know how Russia feel about anybody that goes against them. And they have the ability to get to them, because there's plenty of folk that have left Russia and have been an adversary of Putin.
Yeah.
They've come, and that's because this man's in the best of health.
Well,
saying.
That's what they're coming out now. They're saying that he wasn't in the best of health. But in this day, we just don't know. The truth is upside down. Like I say, if somebody throws a conspiracy theory at me today, I used to blow it off and laugh at people, But today, you take that stuff into consideration because we're living in a world. The United States is filled with lies, as always. So we're going to come back. We're going to take a break. We're going to come back, deal with the subject with black politicians and double standards. Is there a double standard for black politicians? We'll come back after this break. All right, welcome back. I'm gonna say real quick. Thanks to our production staff, a one-man show over there that he does the commercials and does our audio and video control. So we just give him his props, and because I always kind of forget that at the end. So thanks, brother. The subject today: black politicians and double standards. Is there do you think? And I'll just start with Obama, and because I know that we sometimes mumble that Obama didn't do much for black people. Yeah, and I hear the murmuring, and I get it, I understand it. But did he do any more for black people than Bush, his predecessor, or did he do any more for Trump? I guess you say came after him, and Biden, is there anything in particular that politicians, we just start with the president, I want to talk locally about it too, but we'll start with Obama because he's the most popular black politician at this point. And do you think that there was a double standard for just let's deal with Obama, or you can deal with in general in black politicians? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, the issue that with about pros and cons of being, we all came in with the idea. The first thing that we did, we came and we had all this euphoria for got a black president, but I guess we all should have known is that it's only so much that he can do, because it's the way the system is set up, supposed to be, is that you got all these different branches and level, and the president himself, he has to be the one to bring all of them up for a common goal. And I didn't, I've only, I didn't really follow him that closely, Obama, as far as like what his achievement was, and what he did and didn't do. But I do feel that, we do beat up ours because we expect more from him. But, if I look at what we're dealing with now, is that we can't have a black politician to go out and like a bull in a china cabinet, a china building, because the fact is that just as quick as you get in there is just as quick as you get out. So I guess we have to say we have to play along to get along. It's only so much, because John Lewis, he gave his whole life to one thing, that Voting Rights Act. That was his main focus.
That's what he's known for.
Right, that's what he's known for, and that didn't happen. And I felt, we had this conversation too many times before. I felt that was a chance to do it, but then again, like you say, you got to be able to put all your chips on the table for the right cause.
Yeah, and you brought up the Voting Rights Act, and that's a good example of why I think black people have a right to get somewhat disgruntled, and because wasn't that in play with Obama?
Yes.
But now to Obama's defense, he only had like less than 12 months to get things done because he lost to Congress immediately after. He spent most of his time with the Affordable Care Act, which is doomed right now. I mean, they've gutted it underhandedly, only because it has the black man name on it. And it's really an Affordable Care Act, but they call it Obamacare. Okay. Now, this is what I'm talking about. That should not be in America. That shouldn't have been a hard lift. But we know we got the Republicans on the other side, which is not, to me, a legitimate political party. They represents the Confederate. That's the Confederate Party, as we see right now. And if you know the statistics or are familiar with them, you will find that since the Voting Rights Act, the Democrats have never gotten a majority of the white vote. And so that because back in the 1800s, let's just say the Republicans were the champions, such as Lincoln, freeing the slaves, doing the right thing, the abolitionists, that's Republican in the 1800s, in the early 1900s, so to speak. And so after the Voting Rights Act, you see a shift. All the Democrats, who, like I call them the Confederate Party, they flocked over to the Republican Party under Reagan. Reagan was the great white hope. He brought all the racists in to give them hope that they would long for the day when they didn't have to compete with black people and get the butt whooped, because that's what it comes down to. The white male doesn't have to compete. We have to be qualified. We have to know our stuff. The white male, he doesn't have to do anything but be white. I mean, we can see it clearly today. That should be a foregone conclusion, because all you have to do is look at the Trump administration, look at the Civil Rights Division now, all white. They even talking about white reverse racism now. So I'm just saying, to making my point that the Republicans and the Democrats switched. Now you got all the racists in the Republican Party. Not that Democrats don't have any racists. We do. There's no doubt about that. But at least we can hold our politicians accountable. We have a different standard. Over here on this side of the fence, Democrats generally, let's just say, you got to be qualified. Over that side, you just got to be white and male. and speak a lot of racist talk, right? With the exception of Tim Scott and Clarence Thomas. Did you know that there were black people who fought for the Confederacy? Yeah, good. So it's similar. You're always going to have that group. So I kind of got off on I say all that to bring us up to the history of how we get to this point. And I'm gonna real quick. I'm gonna speak to you locally, and this is how I say where black people, where we are not in tune to how the system works. Our mayor is black here. We had an incident in the city where a young black man went into a restaurant. I guess maybe something happened in the restaurant. They wound up taking the young black man out, and he was out. The film I saw, he was out, and they threw him on the sidewalk. I mean, and face slammed on the ground. Right. All right, that was the situation. The next city council meeting comes up after that, and usually the place is empty. Now it's full. Black people there, right, in mass, and they're putting their grievances on the black mayor, on blaming him for this incident. First of all, this is what I say. You don't know how your government works. You should have been, instead of asking this black man to show his allegiance to the black people and go up there and close that business down, I think that's what that was all about. Instead of going into the prosecutor's office, you go into the mayor's office. The mayor is not a prosecutor, it's not a law enforcement. Now he sets policy, but you executive branch. You executive branch, and so you guys should have been at the prosecutor office in mass. Yeah, that's how the system works. Because you want that young man, those 4 guys who threw him out the place and left him out on the street like a dead animal. He wasn't dead; he was just knocked out. Right. You in the wrong department. Why do you and the only reason you're in that department because he's a black man. So what I'm saying is you put a burden upon him and some bad publicity upon him that he didn't deserve. He only got it because he was a black mayor. Yeah, you don't know, and that's why I get on black people. Participate in the process. Learn how your system, your government works. And I'm not trying to preach to you, per se, but we do need to, we can't just show up in a time of crisis. We got to show up way before the crisis come and understand how government works. Because even in high school today, they're not teaching civics, and so I understand why people wouldn't know how their government works. Oh yeah. And so that I just want to point out, in my opinion, there is a double standard for black politicians, and I'm not saying it shouldn't be, per se, because we should know in America that there is a double standard for black people. You know, we always got to be better. And and just because you're a black politician, I understand that black people are going to look towards you for even more. I'm thinking about the black politician. I'm thinking about his mother, who just passed, and I'm thinking about the murmuring that, and she was a government official. I mean, a commissioner in Lake County, and I just remember her son giving her eulogy, and him mentioning, and somewhere in the eulogy about this disgruntlement towards his mother. Yes, he mentioned Jesus, but just the fact that he had to bring that up, and I had heard that. I was talking to somebody, and I said, "Well, you going to the funeral?" Because she was a big figure in this county. And the person brought up her job performance. Yeah, she wasn't getting nothing done for this thing. And I know she had, she roughed up a few people. That's politics. But I'm like, in the end, if you know where she came from Alabama. I mean, came in the Great Migration. So and then she lost her husband when she got up here, had 4 kids. I mean, that's for a black woman. Can you imagine raising 4 kids? I mean, that's why my mom raised 7. She was a single mother. So what I'm saying is, how are you going to be so hard on this black politician who and you being black, knowing what the double standard she went through and how she had to fight for everything, and you're going to criticize her on job performance? You're not even looking at her accomplishment. In matter of fact, she got her master's, I think, a doctorate degree. The whole, politics. I even stood toe to toe with her, and I felt that Southern, push. I called her like a warrior.
Right.
That's why I call her a warrior. And you had to be strong to stand toe to toe with her. But you know, I was in the form like I should be. When you're from the South, you don't speak against your elders.
Oh no.
You know, she just went on and because I didn't support her son, she tried, you know, not still when she got done tearing into me, I still didn't change my view, but I said, yes, ma'am. I said, yes, ma'am.
Exactly. I'm gonna walk away now.
But she apologized, and she was so nice.
Right.
In the end, she wasn't nice at the time, but after she thought about it before the meeting was over, she met me at the door, cut me off before I got it, because I wanted to get out, right? She didn't embarrass me in front of the middle of the floor. And I was trying to get out before anybody knows, but she was waiting on me. I said, oh, here we go, round two.
Right. Ding.
But she apologized so profusely. Right there. Same place she had berated me. So how can you be mad at that? You know what I mean?
Hey,
that
take
just
accountability.
Take accountability. That's a leader.
But
that's
a
leader.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. And that's, you've done that a couple times today that you bring something up that jogs your back memory. And it's so funny that you were saying that how that became his issue because he was black. And so that thing you saying, our expectation and are they fair also? And that statement that you just made, that just shows that it's not fair. It wasn't.
No.
No. That's not his call. Like you say, if you be more involved, just like, things like back in my home state, the parents was going to the school. They had a black mayor. The parents was going to the mayor's office talking about that the school was saying is that they wanted to have dress codes. Now, they packed up out the building behind talking to the mayor about that. But then again, the same conversation is that when they have the parents and teachers night, parents and teacher night, or they have a school board meeting, you go in there and you can hear crickets.
Right.
So it goes back to that same point that you're saying.
Don't know how
exactly. And that you're saying is that you should tell these people that we put you in office, that old thing that they'll threat you. We put you in there and we'll take you out. I'm saying, but you don't do that same thing to the other.
Your white counterpart.
Yeah, the white counterpart.
All right. And we'll come back, and because we're going to, on the subject board, you can continue that, because I want to say and something in contrast to that too. And we're going to continue after the break. We're going to pull up the subject board, and the subject off that board is politics. So we might even see another one that applies, but right now it's politics. So we'll take a break or come right back with the subject board. All right, we're back. We on the subject board. Can you bring that up for us real quick? Let's see. Because all I'm seeing is politics for what we just talked about. Our self-esteem. Also, I can say that too, because and integrity, I guess. But politics. You can come back real quick, because I want to point out, in saying that double standard, I do feel, though, still, in saying what I said earlier before the break about black politicians, I think they are obligated to serve black people in some capacity, because they wouldn't be in that seat had it not been for the mass struggle to get them there. And I do like the Chicago mayor. He does not have any problem talking about race whatsoever. He doesn't skip around the subject, and that's why I had a problem with Obama and who's the vice president, Kamala Harris. They talk around the issue, and probably because they don't have the African American full experience. If you think about it, Obama's mother was white and his dad was from Kenya. If you think about it, Kamala Harris, her mother was Indian. Her dad was Jamaican. Okay. And so the African American experience for those who, that's why African Americans are, we may have to get to a point where you have to designate African Americans because our experience is different than those who are Obama type. I mean, on the face value, you wouldn't just look and see what's there. But then you get to your Tim Scotts and your Clarence Thomas, of course. And they have no allegiance to black people whatsoever.
And it's almost like you say, and it's almost seemed like they try to distance themselves from. To me, it seemed like they try to distance themselves from that.
You're talking about Tim Scott and Clarence Thomas. What about Obama?
Clarence Thomas was from Alabama,
Georgia.
Georgia, yeah.
That's where his mother. That whoever Harlan Crow paid all that money for her house, and she could stay there. It's some type of underhanded gratuity, which I call bribe, that Clarence Thomas got. But go ahead.
Yeah, but those people, like you said with Obama, I say that I tease you about that, and as you saying is that Obama. I say, well, he ain't all the way there, and it goes right back to what you're saying is that we all have different experiences. So the things that we want to fight for, or the things that we want you to go and fight for, because we put you there. Is that you're not, you don't feel once you get there, you look around the room and ain't nobody trying to have that conversation but you. So what you gonna do? But if you true to the reason why you're there is that you still take on that fight.
Yes.
But a lot of them don't.
Right.
Because they say they go along to get along, But then again, when you go back when it's time to be reelected, now you got to go and have that conversation about, you talked about that 4 years ago. And it's still, and I ain't never seen nothing come up about that.
And I'll relate this also to, since we was talking about MAGA earlier, you see how the Republicans always throws them some red meat. Always, because the red meat to them is just hate. They hate the black people, hate the brown people, and put women in their place, so to speak. That's throwing your base some red meat. Even, just you're letting them know they're there. Even for us, I'd say for black people, because we're the base of the Democratic Party, like MAGA is the base of the Republican Party, but they get fed. The base of the Democratic Party, which is black people, we're non-existent after the general election. See, in the Democratic Party, it's another thing people should understand about the Democratic Party, is that black people have a lot of power in the primary. That's the one to see who's going to get out the bracket. We're talking about national election. Right. To get out the bracket, right? You need that. Ask Biden.
Right.
Well, because this is how Biden pulled that number on Bernie. Biden was getting his butt kicked. Started out in California, went to Iowa, and and Bernie's just having a good. I mean, he's just tearing them up. Biden ain't got a chance. But when they go through what we call the Bible Belt, when the vote. Clyburn out of South Carolina got a hold to Biden's ear. And he says, well, we could really use a Supreme Court justice. We could really use as black people this. And I forget what the other one was. And he got both. I mean, first, they made that. And this is, I give Clyburn the nod, because this is what black politicians should do. Right. He's doing the right thing. He's making a negotiation before we get out of this bracket. Because what he said, you're not going to get out of this bracket unless you give us something.
Yeah.
And that's the way you don't negotiate like a Trump after you started the war, you lost. You can't negotiate now. Nope. You didn't lost. Right. Negotiate on the front end. And of course, Biden delivered and Clyburn delivered, because when they went through the Bible Belt, Biden cleaned house, put him in the front. And then next year, Klobuchar and Buttigieg the one from Minnesota.
They
They pulled out.
They started flying
They
off.
pulled out and they
Falling
endorsed
off like flies.
yeah.
Yeah.
It was a sham. It was that's what I say. That's a scar on the Democratic Party because really Biden broke his promise. He was supposed to only been one term. He ran for 2 terms, came back the second term. They didn't give him a legitimate debate, everybody should have been able to run, but they shut out, there was at least 3 other candidates in the Democratic Party shut them out. And so you don't even know they ran. And so I just wanted to say all that to say there's a different standard for black politicians and white politicians, and I'm not saying that it's not unfounded because white politicians should be given saying the same thing towards black people. And then what I'm getting to is reparations. That's the talking point. That's the talking point, right? And I know your thoughts is if you're being, you think that's a laughable thing. I'm saying that ain't going. If we can't get that, if America can't, we're the only group in America who has not been repaired for the damage that they've done. The Native Americans, they got casino. I ain't saying that they ain't hurting now. I get that they suffered genocide, but at least they were throwing a little casino. I ain't saying that.
Well, no, not on casino. They gave them property, land that they saying this is yours, and the Indians, they run that according to their own laws.
Okay, that's called an effort to repair.
Right, exactly. Yep.
Do you know that the slaveholders, when the slaves went free, the slaveholders got reparations and the slaves got nothing? Right? You're familiar with that?
They paid them for the fact of them being able to be free. In other words, that's what their property, and they saying, so we basically paying you for your property to be able to go free. Is that correct?
Right. You were damaged. So
Right.
the landowners
exactly.
the slave owners were supposedly damaged because after the Civil War, they lost their free labor. Now, the free labor, black people didn't get any compensation on their wages. In fact, they got a promise of 40 acres and 2 mules, right? And of course, the presidential, another one of those games where I think it was Hayes, made a deal with the South. If you give me your votes, we'll pull out the Union troops from the South. Because this is during Reconstruction. Black people were doing very good in politics, which I think we can do after this. That's another story, but I think black people can return to that era. But at this point, like I say, just understanding politics and how we get to this point where we rely on black politicians, I think, way too much, when we should be relying just as much on white politicians.
Exactly.
You got to hold them accountable.
Exactly. Because I know my pastor said this, and I was a young kid. I never will forget it. And he said, y'all always come here when it's time to be reelected. But then again, we don't see you again after that. So don't come in here when you looking for something. Come back when you have something to give.
And exactly. But see, that preacher who ever said that should have took a page out of Claiborne's book. You ain't coming up in the church until you give me something. A promise. What are you going to do? I ain't coming up here. Tell me, and I say reparation. I know you get a giggly out of that because you're thinking, hey, that ain't happening. You're dreaming. Yeah? Just like the abolitionists were dreaming about slavery being over. I'm saying it may not happen in your lifetime. And that's another thing, black people, where we misinterpret how just because in our generation we don't achieve what we want to get to, that doesn't mean we can't pass the baton. That's what the same thing civil rights did. They knew they were going to die one day. Everybody's going to die one day, but they set it up so that the people coming after them would have something to work with. And we're not, and I say reparation, that's my thing, because the wealth transfer is still going on. Look at it. We just threw billions of dollars overseas. You could have took one of those billions that you're blowing up daily and gave black people reparations, because we need to be repaired. We are a hurt and damaged people psychologically. That's why we run down to the black politicians. Save us, black politician, we voted for you. You got all this power. They ain't got all that power. They got a role to play according to the law.
And it's funny, like that, and then now that they're in the business of doing that reshave of redlining,
Yes.
yeah, gerrymandering.
Yes.
They doing that now. So now that's becoming less and less a thing that you have power. So now the way they get it, you over in this thing, but then again, you being represented by somebody that don't look nothing like you or have any concerns of your cause.
Right, and that's I'm glad you brought up being represented by somebody that doesn't look like you.
Right.
I get that, but that's where understanding politics comes in. That's why I say you get them on the front end. What do you want on the front end? Don't wait till the back end is over. You have to wait till the next election cycle. So that's why I say we don't understand politics like we should.
That's what happened
But
to Trump.
but we're pretty good at it now. I ain't gonna say that we don't. We got some organizers out there. It's just reparations is not their thing. It's too touchy. We might offend some good white folks out there.
Yeah, that's
You know,
exactly
and
what
I'm
it is.
saying screw that.
Right.
We're hurt. You have done generational damage after generational damage. I can go back to Jim Crow. I can come up to the prison industrial complex. I can come up to now where Trump is just in the government, just gutting black people out the government, which these jobs are needed in our community. This money is needed because we're damaged. You see the violence going on. People can't get jobs. It's got to eat. You got to eat.
Yeah, that's true.
What do you want the people to do? Starve to death? Yes. And so I just wanted to throw that out there, that politics is very important to understand. And understand, yeah, there are times when you can hold your black politician to a double standard, when he's not serving your interests
Just because
or
of your
disinterest. Go ahead.
In the famous word of the old school guy on the corner with a half a pint, just because they're your color don't mean they're your kind.
Not all skin is kin.
Yeah.
Not all skin is kin.
Oh, okay, you heard it too.
Yeah.
Another version of it.
All right, we're going to take this break. We're going to come back to the last quarter of the hour when we're going to talk politics. I mean, entertainment. We just talked politics. And we're going to come back and talk about entertainment. And if you're watching, hit the subscribe button. And also forward our website address, YouTube, and help us get up this audience. So we'll take a break and come back. All right, welcome back. We're going to do a little entertainment as on the last 15 minutes or 10 minutes of the hour. But before I know you want to talk about soccer, but 'cause you're always up on sport. I wanted to ask you about this Caitlin Clark thing. Did you see the video? It looked like somebody put their hand on her throat. She fell down.
right.
Was that? I mean, tell me, now are they beating up on their cash cow? I'm talking about the WNBA. You know, y'all got all this money. The white girl comes in to the NBA. Y'all making $80,000-$60,000. All of a sudden, you go up to $600,000, and
a couple million.
Next day, you know, you're throwing down your cash cow. Y'all better not hurt Caitlin. That $600,000 gonna go back to $60,000. We have a reduction. I'm just saying. You give me your perspective.
Well, with Caitlin, I saw the incident, and me personally, I didn't think that young lady intentionally looked for Caitlin Clark's neck to put her hand on it, and I don't think that she needed. They was tussling for the ball. Now, in that same conversation, is that if you go back and run the tape, Caitlin Clark is not no Cinderella. She ain't no Alice in Wonderland. Caitlin Clark plays hard and some people can say right on the borderline of being a little dirty. I'm saying, so I don't know if whatever the case is, and then her white counterpart got on her podcast and was talking about the WNBA need to do more to protect Caitlyn. They ain't say to protect other players, so in other words, if you talk about, if you talk about what it is, if you talk about what it is that you're doing for the whole of you talk about then, and so I stand back and look at that, here we go, white privilege.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely has a racial component to a double standard. That's what we were just talking about. But I just feel like this is business for the WNBA. I'm kind of caught because I saw the foul too. Please, like, get real. You guys are creating rage, and you're creating. I'm talking about the media, which you're playing. You're playing a game on people, and I don't know why the WNBA won't put a quash to it because it's hurting their game. Or maybe it ain't. Because racism sells.
No, it ain't.
You're right.
Exactly.
Let me take that back. Racism sells. So yeah, go ahead, choke the girl, whatever.
So next time when they play each other, it's gonna be a build up. It's gonna be a build up because this is the lady that got suspended for the way they said choking.
Yeah.
The girl hand wasn't open.
Rubbed her neck.
Rubbed her neck. Probably should be happy that somebody gave you a massage.
Yeah. Okay, but let's go on about soccer. Tell me about soccer.
It was a couple of upsets coming up to where we are now. We got one more game to go. It's England against Argentina. Argentina has Messi, which is in my view, he's the equivalent to what Pelé used to be. He's the equivalent to what Maradona. I'm not. What was his name? Young folk. What was his name? Young folks.
They don't know. We don't get young folks in a minute. Yeah. But go ahead. No, I want to ask young folks something. But go ahead and finish.
But anyway, that's who they saying is that a lot of people don't want to win because I think Argentina won it 4 times, and I think Spain has won it once. Not that makes a difference. But anyway, that's what we. But then we had the other upset when Spain beat France because France was from the beginning of the tournament has been picked to be the champion, but like you said, like the movie say, any given Sunday. Right. So if you ain't got your best on the day that it matters, that's why the NFL is as popular, or the what's that, March Madness. That's why that it's as popular as it is that you get one chance. In the pros, if you don't win today, you can win next week.
Right. Yeah. All right. And then the last, I'm gonna change the subject just a little bit. I went to a car with a scoop.
Show.
Yeah, car show, and I took the grandson and Pam. We were going, and my grandson, his 2 friends showed up. All right, and so I'm kind of teasing them because now there's 3 guys. They go off and they're musing around, but we were standing there with us, and we were sitting down at the table, and I see 3 girls walk by. And I said, hey, man, there y'all go, 3 of them, 3 of y'all, and one was a little hefty there, but it was okay. It was 3 guys, 3 girls. And the way they shunned me off, and we laughed, they laughed, oh, no, and I was trying to match them up. And I bring this up, and it's in the entertainment section. It could be a subject. I bring this up to say, because I noticed when I was 16, 17, that motivated me. Girls motivated me. I was just like, how am I going to, I see a nice young lady, I want to approach. How did you approach it when you were 16 or 17 and you were with your 2 friends and y'all seen 2 girls go by that, pretty good looking? How did you work that out? Did you go up to them and say, hey, girl, what's your sign? No. Is it compatible to mine? Is that how you open it up?
No, I just listening you talk about that is that I think I remember being that same person that stood in the back wing is that I used to always sit and I said, man, that girl, nice. So, man, I sure would like to go and dance with her. And I be saying to myself, and I start be evaluate myself. Well, maybe I ain't got the right shirt on. Maybe my shoes. And I'm thinking that, and while I'm sitting there, this other guy went over there, toe up shirt, hair wasn't combed, and he wanted to ask her dance, and they was on the dance floor dancing. And I'm like, all you got to do is just go ask. You never know, what could come out of it. But I wasn't that guy.
Oh, you weren't that guy. And the reason why I bring this up again, because we talked about this in times past on one subject before about is there a crisis with young black males? And I said, yeah, I think there. In fact, I know there are. The data says as much. And I think a lot of jobs, we used to have summer jobs back in the day, CETA, through the government, they gave you something. And that helped us, with money. And like I said, we always wanted a car. We would fix up our own car, this and that, because, we wanted to get with the nice ladies. And I say all that to say that we have a crisis with young black people today. And I do think that it does have a lot to do with our socialization, which is on our board. The socialization back in our day is different than it is today because, of course, they got social media on top of everything else. But that thing where they don't really even have that, like you were talking about the disco we had back in the day, or we go to the teen center, we called it, where we would dance. Music was out of sight. It was danceable music.
Right.
It wasn't just bumping each other in the mosh pit. And I wanted to ask, young people, wanted to get some young people on the line to ask, how do they in that type setting, in a festival setting, you see a nice young lady or ladies, be a group of you guys. How do you guys approach the lady, or you don't? So I want to get young people. Can we get some young people on the line? We got on now. Just like I thought, man. Every time we ask young people to call in, they never disappoint us. So yeah, get young people in here. I want to ask young people.
What's going on?
Is young people there?
Yeah, right.
We can't hear you over here. Okay, young people, tell us, in that setting, in a festival setting, and you've seen 3 ladies come by and you had 3 friends, what's your approach? Or do you approach?
I mean, I think it's all situational because it's like, I mean, I don't think that they have to attract us. Like,
okay, let's say they're attractive. I mean,
okay,
booty all out towards 7th Avenue. I mean, the front end just a 7 all the way. Perfect 7.
Okay, then, I mean, it's me personally. You just gotta be yourself. You can't be scared to be yourself. So.
How do you go over there? Do you say, "Hey, what's your sign, girl?"
If you're in a festival like that, what's going on? What brought you out here?
Yeah, I mean, do you just bum rush the show? You just walk right up to her? How do you say that? What's the approach? I'll tell you what my approach would be. I say, hey, girl, you got some nice shoes on. I like them shoes. Yeah, I go to the mall all the time. Did you go out there to that mall too? That's the way I approach it now.
No, I mean, that's what I mean by situational, though. Like, that's not something I'm going to be able to think of, like, as you're asking me it. That's something that just comes off the top of my head.
Okay, give me an experience that you had where you, in the last minute, real quick, last minute, that you had where you approach a woman.
Like, for instance, I remember being at this one. It was a rave, right? It was a rave. I don't know if you guys know.
About 30 seconds.
Okay, I don't know if you guys know what a rave is, but, walk up to her, and it's like, oh, your outfit's nice. What brought you out here tonight? Can I interest you in a drink? Ooh, get the talk all going like that. And then it kind of just, it warms them up for conversation. It's like open arms, almost.
All right, young people. Young people got it going on. What's the problem, man? What's the problem, EB? And young people can rap. All right, young people, thanks for that input. And I want you guys out there, young people listening, follow that suit. Yeah, we got to start communicating and get some socialization going on because I think that will help our mental health issues in our community. All right, came to the end of the show. I want to thank EB here and my sound director and the video director. And as always, hit the subscribe button. Please forward this website to any of your friends and get our viewership up. We're in the last 6 months of the show. We were going to do this for a year. We're halfway through, so just letting people know. Appreciate you out there. And as the ancestors would say to you, always, always do the right thing.
Peace.